everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be my full-on review for Peacemaker Season 2. Now there may be spoilers mentioned throughout not only for this season, but also potentially for all other DC content, especially that within James Gunn's new universe, so just beware when going to this overall video. And you can check out my thoughts on Season 1 of Peacemaker, and I'll leave some links within the description. So to quickly recap on the finale of Season 1, which saw Peacemaker, or Chris, defeat the Butterfly alien invasion, and we saw the back then confirmed Justice League show up at the end of the battle. We see Adebayor expose the secret activities of Task Force X, which were instigated by her mother Amanda Waller. Now Season 2 picks up shortly after these events, with Chris frustrated by not being taken seriously as a hero despite defeating the Butterflies. He finds himself rejected when he tries to gain entry into the Justice Gang, who we saw in the Superman movie. All of the other gang feel the effects of Amanda Waller's exposure. Hardcourt finds herself blacklisted from all other government agencies and goes on a continuous destructive drunken binge and decline. Economos is working at Argos, but finds himself mistrusted at every single turn, and we see Adebayor has split also from her partner and is just drifting into life without any meaning or purpose. We see Rick Flag Sr. take over Argos and is obsessed with taking down Chris as he killed his son, who we saw the events of that happen back in the Suicide Squad sequel. And the most integral plot sees Chris discovering a dimensional portal technology created by his father, using it to travel to an alternate universe where both his father and his brother are still alive, and he finds more respectability as a hero. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that in terms of Peacemaker, I've stated multiple times that anybody's enjoyment of the show will really depend on their tolerance or preference to James Gunn's R-rated tone and sensibilities. Now, whilst I thought John Cena performed very well in the lead role, overall I felt the show was too juvenile, too immature and too flippant to really be taken seriously as a substantial superhero series. So it's sad to say that Season 2 overall I think is actually inferior to Season 1. Its biggest weakness being that there was no real central plot in terms of the alternate universe, and that idea really wasn't utilised or executed to its full potential. Seeing Chris meet again with his father and brother in a suburban peaceful reality was an interesting concept, and seeing alternative versions of all the other main characters could have gone somewhere really inventive. But the show just doesn't really do anything much with these ideas. Yes, we knew that there would be some sort of big reveal within the presumably perfect alternate reality, but once we learn it's a post-Nazi World War victory society outlining all ethnics and minorities, it just feels a bit throwaway and insignificant. This typical narrative only works when you have the heroes discover the true atrocities and they see innocents imprisoned. They then go to remain in the alternate world to rescue the civilians and change the way of life and order overall. But that doesn't work here, as the world is pretty peaceful, with the superheroes always there to protect against any harmful criminal activity. And this is alluded to even by Chris's father himself, who said that he's more than happy to fix all the problems in this alternate world. But the reveal itself came far too late in the game, within the 6th episode, and that really wasn't enough time to explore the concept, and the heroes just end up returning back in their own time with very little consequence. And that was the biggest problem here, is that there was no real central villain or antagonist this time around, which removes any real stakes. And what if it really, and would it really have mattered, we asked the real question, would it have really mattered if Chris had remained in the other universe? We just don't get any sense of Chris's real value within this current universe, so nobody would have missed him if he was really gone. And as the lead character, firstly, Chris doesn't really progress, despite having the most interesting plot. Yes, we do see reflections over his brother, but that territory was really covered already within the first season, where I felt far more substantial time was spent on Chris reflecting on his past memories and his very traumatic relationships, both with his brother and later on with his father. I just felt they did a far more better job developing the character. There was no sense of that this time around. It's pretty much the same at the end of the season as what he was at the beginning. We look at Hardcourt, who again has some very interesting potential for development, but she just ends up angry, angsty, never looking to change her ways. Whilst Jennifer Holland provided a lots of intensity in these scenes, the character just came across as very one note. And despite some focus on the relationship between Chris and Harcourt, you never truly feel that this is a couple that are very much in love with one another. Other characters suffered also from a lack of development, whether it was Adebayor. Characters not really moving any further, and the less said about Adrian the better. The character this time was just a mere annoyance all the way through. Now, in terms of the newer additions, I think Rick Flag Sr. had the most substance. Frank Grillo is always reliable as an antagonist, and he was probably the one character that had the most consistent motivation throughout the entire series. We had Tim Meadows as Langston Fleury, who was essentially the second in command in terms of the Argos team, and he was really nothing more than just comic relief. Many of the jokes for me didn't land, but again, that's down to your overall preference. We had the simmering hot Sol Rodriguez as the top agent, Sasha Bordeaux. We find out later on that she's part of a cyborg, but again, they didn't really do anything much of her character, especially when she seemingly turns towards the sides of the heroes towards the later stages of the finale. And when we look at the finale itself, it probably was the biggest disappointing entry of the entire season, where literally nothing happened. We had the fallout from the alternate universe, as I mentioned before, which saw Chris's alternate father being killed and the heroes returning to the alternate universe. We see that his brother is heavily damaged in the fight when he tries to kill Chris. So you did go into that episode thinking perhaps he may find some way through to the actual timeline and try to gain revenge for the death of his father. But they didn't even do anything with that particular storyline. They just kind of left it hanging like many of the threads throughout this overall finale. And at 57 minutes long, you would have felt that they would have gone for something action-packed and spectacular. But for the most part, the episode was an absolute waste. We just get these extended takes and montages. James Gunn really overdid it with the musical numbers this time around. We had a very weird sequence where we see the team going into other dimensional portals and they're fighting off various monsters and zombies and vampires. And this is again the expansion of the more cosmic sensibilities that James Gunn is more renowned for when handling superhero stories. But this episode just didn't go anywhere, and it was much more symbolic of the fact that there was no real particular story to tell. We could argue that the season really could have ended on the penultimate episode, episode 7, with an extra 5 minutes to have some sort of added cliffhanger for the subsequent season 3, if indeed we do get that. But that just wasn't the case, and the finale itself was an absolute waste. Just padding for time. It's almost as if James Gunn realises that he has nowhere to go really with the show or the series. Any fans hoping for some substantial cameos or links to Superman, perhaps even an appearance from Corin Sweat himself in a suit, would have been sadly disappointed. Of course, they kind of used up that cameo appearance already by having Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor appear in, I believe, the 6th episode. And in the end, it was just about the team reconnecting with Chris and one another. As I mentioned, we see Bordeaux siding with the team after seeing various of her colleagues being killed after numerous tries into the ultimate dimensions. But again, they didn't really go anywhere further with that. And the finale just kind of ended where we see Rick Flag Sr. apprehending Chris and sending him to the prison dimension that he had in plan to ultimately trap any metahuman criminals. So even if we disregard your preference or tolerance or intolerance to the overall tone, the fact is, as pure storytelling, this was just bad and overall wasteful. It really left the viewer with nothing to get hyped or excited for any potential season 3. Whether we will see any of the characters appear in the upcoming Waller series, I'm not so sure. Again, I don't know why we need a series around Amanda Waller. She easily could have made an appearance in this overall show. But for me, Peacemaker is just overall very throwaway and disposable, a cartoony, pointless exercise in just how James Gunn can further indulge in his R-rated tone and humour. And sadly, it's nothing more than that. On a positive note, I'll probably say the actors are all fine in their roles, that overall there is a certain charisma and likability about them. We can't deny the sheer allure and attraction of both Jennifer Holland and Sol Rodriguez as both Harcourt and Bordeaux. Very much two of the most attractive women, certainly in television and streaming right now. But that wasn't enough to address all of the many flaws in Peacemaker. As I mentioned before, overall it's a very juvenile and pointless exercise, and very much a nondescript addition to whatever world building that we are seeing within James Gunn's universe. And having now sampled this alongside Superman and Creature Commandos, I would definitely say that this has not been a good start at all to his Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the second season of Peacemaker. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other topics for the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.